Hello, and thank you for joining us for this World Council of Credit Unions virtual event, Building Stronger Communities, How Social Impact Drives Credit Union Growth. I'm Greg Newman, Director of Communications for World Council. Before we get started, please take a moment to click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and choose your language, English or Spanish, to make sure you can hear all of today's presentation in your preferred language. Tómese un momento para hacer clic en interpretación y elija su idioma, inglés o español, o para asegurarse de que puede escuchar esta reunión en su idioma preferido. Today, Nick Ahlmark, Marketing Officer at Donore Credit Union in Dublin, Ireland, will explore how small credit unions can leverage social impact to drive growth and long-term sustainability. He'll explore the vital connection between community support and financial success, and show how initiatives like Donore Credit Union's Community Fund and Sustainable Energy Community, as well as its Social Return on Investment report, enhances both visibility and engagement. You'll leave here today with a better idea of how your credit union can attract younger generations, foster financial inclusion, and strengthen its role as a pillar of the community. If you have any questions as you watch today's presentation, please use the Q&A button located at the bottom of your screen and type those questions in there. I'll ask Nick your questions later in the webinar as time permits. And today's webinar is being recorded. It's going to be available later today on the World Council YouTube channel. And now let's welcome in Nick Ahlmark from Donore Credit Union, who will take it from here. Nick, thank you so much for being here. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Greg. It's truly an honor to be speaking to credit union colleagues from all over the world today in this webinar. And yeah, as mentioned there, the main topic we will focus on will be how we as a small credit union manage to grow and turn things around through community focus. And then hopefully all of you listening might pick up an idea or two that might be beneficial for your credit union. So just quickly about my background, just to give a little bit of context. I was born in Finland, but grew up in Sweden. So I spent most of my childhood in Stockholm, Sweden, coincidentally about 30 minutes away from where the WalkU conference is taking place this year. And for all of those visiting, Stockholm is a great place to visit in July. It tends to be the best time of year to visit. And when I moved to Ireland in 2017, I had actually never heard of a credit union, believe it or not. It wasn't until the following year in 2018 when I became involved with the credit union. So I simply thought it was some type of trade union or the likes because I just heard the word union. We do have credit unions back home in Sweden and Finland, but not to the same extent and not community credit unions like you would have in Ireland or the US. So I will be sharing the story of Donore Credit Union and our story in growing a small independent credit union that went from almost having to be merged because stagnation to then more than doubling the loan book and growing membership in the last few years. And this would not have been possible if it wasn't for the proactive and open-minded staff, board, and especially our CEO, Dave McCauley, who presented actually at WalkU a couple of years ago as well. So in this webinar then, I will share a little bit. So here's the agenda. So we'll start with a small introduction to Ireland's first credit union. So that's Donore Credit Union, a little bit about ourselves, and then looking into ways that we had, strategies that we had to engage with younger generations and newcomers to the area. And then proven community initiatives. So this includes large projects in the community to get them more involved with the credit union. And lastly, then building reputation and member loyalty. So a little bit about us. So as mentioned there, yeah, Donore Credit Union happens to be Ireland's first and oldest credit union, and it's located in Dublin city centre. So for those familiar with Dublin or might have visited, we're located in the Liberties. So only a few minutes walk from St. Patrick's Cathedral or the Guinness Storehouse, so popular tourist attractions. And our common bond, so we're actually the only independent credit union in the area in Dublin city centre. And our common bond is very diverse in all types of demographics. So we have affluence, a huge variety in affluence, cultural backgrounds, age demographics, so a big student population, but also a lot of senior citizens in the area. So it's a great mix and it's a great area to be operating in. And as mentioned, we are a relatively small credit union with only 5,800 members. However, since 2018, we have actually grown by over 1,400 members. So talking about 30% growth in membership. And during the same time, we have actually grown our loan book by close to 10 million euro from 6.4 million in 2017 up to over 16 million in 2024. And obviously then this growth has enabled us to work a lot more with the community, and our community donations have increased. So it has enabled us to give back more to the community in terms of donations, sponsorships. And in the last 5 years, we've donated about 100,000 to various groups. And we'll cover this in more detail further in the presentation. So here's a few images just from the early days of the credit union. So it was set up in 1958, and we still operate in the same area, just a few streets away from where it was originally set up. And it was neighbors who set it up. And especially, so you have this lady here by the birthday cake, two sisters who got the idea and they set it up among their neighbors, where they knocked door to door and collected money. Then we set up our first office. And yeah, it's quite incredible thinking in the 50s in Ireland that the first credit union was set up by women at a time when this was quite rare. And then I'll share this quick video with you, just again to give you an overview of our area, so the community we're in, and a little bit about Donore Credit Union in general. So this video was made for our 65th anniversary, which was 2 years ago. So here we go. Founded in 1958, our independent credit union
is the longest running in Ireland.
It all started here on Hamilton Street.
And we've been at the heart of the liberties
ever since.
As the membership grew, our need for space did as well.
In 1969, we found a new home in Ebenezer Terrace.
And 20 years later, we outgrew it once again.
And moved to our current premises.
What has changed in our community over these years?
The local area has evolved,
but still holds the same spirit
that makes the liberties
an unforgettable part of Dublin.
Some things, however, remained the same.
After 65 years, we continue to offer the same face-to-face service we've been known for.
and we will continue to ensure that our members
Can do more with Donore
For the years to come.
Thank you for being a part of Ireland's first credit union.
as a member, you own the credit union.
And the principle of neighbour helping neighbour is as relevant today as it was 65 years ago.
This is certainly a milestone worth celebrating.
Donore Credit Union, at the heart of Dublin 8 since 1958.
Now, I hope that gave a little bit of an overview and a feel of what we're all about. And as you see, it's a lot about the community and the community focus. So over then to engaging younger generations and newcomers. So in order to grow the credit union, we knew that it would be crucial to build a relationship with the younger demographics in the area, as they are essentially the future of the credit union. And like so many other credit unions in Ireland, a lot of membership is actually made up of older members. So in order to survive in the long term, you need to keep on getting new members in as well. And this, obviously, the older members are the ones who built the credit union, so they're very important as well. But youth engagement is a big aspect. And a few of the ways we built up engagement with younger people was, for example, by working with the local college. So we have a college in our common bond, which has a big international student base, and we collaborate with them a lot through various initiatives. So for example, in 2018, we set up the Brendan Lynch Scholarship, which awards one student each year with €3,000 towards their tuition fees, while 50% of this is paid by the credit union and the other 50% is paid by the college. And this has we built a great relationship with the college, where now we can set up a stand and promote services in the cafeteria, on campus, and also anyone who applies for the scholarship, we have one of the terms and conditions is that they become a member of the credit union. So it has worked very well and has really also had an impact on the membership. Another way then we work with the college as well is through specific courses in the college. So this is especially among the business or accountancy programs. And this is actually funny enough how I got involved in the credit union in the first place. So I did a marketing course or a marketing program, and in that we did a research project for none other than Donore Credit Union. And the CEO, David McCauley, was there, explained about the credit union industry, and then I got involved and decided to volunteer with the credit union. So if it wasn't for the fact that the credit union was in college at that time, I would probably not be sitting here having this conversation or sharing this webinar with all of you. Yeah, that leads to the second point, which is volunteering. And as mentioned, that's how I did get started with the credit union. And we'd have different types of volunteering. So obviously the classical ones, like including the board and the committees, but we also, for example, have a local student who comes in on Saturdays, does a little bit of work, helps out with scanning and things like that. And we tend to take in summer interns. So we're trying to continuously promote volunteering among youth groups, local schools, and obviously in the college as well. So the main message that we keep on using is to encourage people to volunteer as you gain more experience. And in particular for younger people, it's great to add to their CV. It helps them down the line as well. Then we have the youth committee, and originally we had a youth committee set up a few years ago, but it wasn't until last year when we fully developed it and it started taking shape. And we actually took a lot of inspiration from the Sicredi in Brazil, because their youth committees are very successful. And we used a bit of the walk use documents as well to sort of build a foundation for the youth committee. And it currently consists of younger staff members and also people from outside the credit union. And the youth committee are working on different projects, such as creating presentations for the local schools or setting up stands also in the local schools or at sports clubs or community events. We also have the youth committee working on creating social media content for younger audiences. So you're talking in particular on the likes of TikTok or Instagram. And then lastly, back to the local schools. So we have set up a savings awareness workshops to get students to learn about saving and the credit union. And this is to encourage younger members to join and start saving from an early age. So if they have the account set up and they save on a regular basis, they will obviously be more likely then to continue using our services once they get older. So it's long-term planning in that sense. And here's just a few pictures as well. So the one to the left there, that's me when I started volunteering, and the youth committee in the middle. And then we had a few students a good few years ago who did a door-to-door mail drop in the area. And then newcomers. So we, as mentioned, we have a very international area in this part of Dublin, and we currently have about 87 different nationalities who are members of the credit union. And what we do find a lot is that people moving from abroad a lot of times tend to not be aware of the credit union. And I mean, I suppose in a way that included myself as a foreign student when I moved to Ireland. And that's why we work with the community to inform newcomers about the credit union. So, for example, we have one board member who invited us over to a Pakistani event that's pictured there. We have the local school, have multicultural day, and wherever we can, just be as much out in the community as possible and educate people about the credit union. And even like from a personal experience, just by being a part of the credit union when I moved to Ireland, it really helped me to become accustomed to Irish culture and get to know people in the community. So without the credit union, I would probably have been lost. And then another idea that we're working on at the moment is actually something that our friends in Brendan Credit Union in the west of Ireland are using. And that is the use of flyers about the credit unions and how to join in various languages. And this is to ensure that we can include everyone in the community to join or become a member, even if there are language barriers in place. So it's just to make sure that everyone's included. And now over to the next section, which is the larger projects that we have been working on and are also currently working on. And this involves especially a focus on the community. So in 2020, we were actually one of the first credit unions in Ireland to do an official social return on investment study. And we realized that we were actually very good at measuring the financial success and the growth of the credit union. So when you talk about terms of loans and savings, but we felt that we really lacked a measure of social dividend. So in other words, the social impact that we have on our community. And around the time of the study in 2020, we actually had two large banks leave the Irish market, and two other banks closed branches in our area. So we found that it was even more important than ever to prove the significance of the credit union in a local context, not only as a financial institution, but essentially as a cornerstone of the community. So this research was done by White Barn Consulting, and it evaluated the 2018 and 2019 financial year by essentially measuring all notable changes and outcomes in the year. So this was done then by valuing, so some of the outcomes were valued using monetary equivalents wherever it made sense to do so. But a lot of things would also be measured in terms of importance to members' lives. And based on that, then the social return could be calculated. So the results of the study showed that for every €1 that went into the credit union, about approximately €10 of social dividend was then created. So as mentioned, this was done then by looking at various areas. So you included lending, donations, additional services, and also involved a steering group and interview like survey participants that answered questions. And the full 99-page report is available on our website, and that has all the results and the research process in it. And we also do have a summarized version of it, which isn't as long. And what's great is that we see more and more credit unions across the country have done similar studies over the last few years. And in an ideal world, we'd love to see where we have a bunch of credit unions in Ireland doing the study to get results for the whole Irish credit union movement. So that's the social return of investment study. And then another community initiative that has proved to be a great success is actually the Donore Area Sustainable Community, or DASC, which is a group that aims to improve sustainability and the overall environment in the local community. And this was originally set up by the credit union in 2022, but it has actually grown to almost a life of its own, where it's now, we're still actively involved in it, but it's run by a local resident. So they're in charge of leading the group, and we're sort of on the sidelines now. But the group had a slow start, but now we have residence groups involved, a large global hotel chain, who operate in the area. We have the local schools and obviously the local college as well. And this again is just one of the initiatives where there's actually not really any financial gain for the credit union, but it has a positive social impact and direct impact on the area. So a few of the projects that the sustainable energy community is involved in is, for example, you have a picture there. So the monthly community cleanups, where it's organized by the global hotel chain and they clean around the area to keep it free from litter. And also we're working on setting up a sustainability event, which allows community groups and clubs to have a say where spending will be allocated. So green projects in the area. And in Ireland and Dublin, there's a lot of grants and funding available for sustainability projects, but it's just making sure that they go to the best use possible. And we always say as well, as a credit union, so from the credit union perspective, we do offer, for example, lower interest rate on greener loans. So loans that improve energy efficiency of homes. But we can't just be encouraging the community to go green without actually setting an example. So last year we installed 46 solar panels on the roof of the credit union, and currently we're producing more electricity from the solar panels that we are using in a year. And we also did things such as insulate the building better, changing the windows, just to show members that, look, if we're doing it and this is how much we save on it. And we have another small thing as well where we installed wild gardens, so wildflowers outside the office to attract bees and pollinators. So that's the sustainability aspect. And the community fund. So this is obviously a big thing. And we always say when our members do more with Donore, the community is able to do even more with Donore. So every year we donate and sponsor thousands of euros to community groups, residents associations, sport clubs, and these groups may vary. So we have, for example, we have a knitting club, there's a historical society. So we take applications from any type of group, and we allow any type of group then to apply for donations or sponsorship. And what we typically have in place is for larger amounts, so talking over 500 euro or so, there is a community fund application that they fill in, and that is then run by the marketing committee. But the community outreach and sponsorship has had a massive impact on what we do, and it really builds trust in the community. So whenever we do sponsor, we usually try to take the opportunity to add our logo wherever it makes sense. So whether that is on a sports jersey or on a mural that we sponsored, it might have our logo there, or even the local community bus, we sponsored repairs for that. So it has now do more with the Donore blasted on the bus as well. And then as a small credit union, we simply do not have the economies of scale to offer certain services or do large marketing campaigns. But through collaboration, we are able to achieve so much more. And the Donore Credit Union is part of the CU Strategic Alliance, which is a corporate credit union that currently consists of close to 25 credit unions all across the nation, who are then working together to enhance services. It's still in the early phases, but this would allow us to, for example, offer more competitive mortgages, current accounts, and much more to members without actually having to merge with another credit union. So it helps us to remain independent and focus on our community while still being able to offer better and bigger services to members. So in a way, it's a collaboration, and it's truly a win-win for all parties involved. And then another group that we're involved in, have been for a good few years, is the Dublin Credit Unions, which is a shared marketing group that allows us to work on larger campaigns that might not necessarily be possible or feasible as an independent or by ourselves. So this includes, for example, we set up a promotional stand at property shows or home improvement shows. We could do larger sponsorships. So a couple of years ago, the picture there, We had one of the players from the women's national team, the football team, as a brand ambassador. And then we're also able to host different types of presentations for the likes of student unions or citywide events and radio campaigns that go over all of Dublin. And this truly, it works great since I suppose in a way we're quite a unique industry where we're not competitors and we operate in separate common bonds. So it really works in favor of all the credit unions taking part. Right, so over to building reputation and member loyalty. So there are certain ways beyond just the community initiatives that we do to build up reputation and the member loyalty. So these are often the small things that can a lot of times be overlooked, but they do have a huge impact on the community. So for example, like a lot of our staff members, they would know members coming into the office on a first name basis. And we have a number of staff who have been with us for 20, 30 years with our assistant manager who has served, I think, just shy of 45 years in the credit union. And she knows it inside out and knows all the members as well. So it's just a familiarity of it. And then some other ways that we go above and beyond. For example, during the pandemic, the staff would go and visit the older members by knocking on the door, seeing if everything was okay. And as you see there, we have the dogs outside the credit union. And for those who might have seen our social media page as well, we have a lot of dogs coming into the credit unions. So we're a dog-friendly credit union, and we always have treats for the dogs. So a lot of times we say we have treats for the dogs, but we don't even have sweets or candy for the kids or the junior members. And then we try to take part in different community events. So for example, the picture there, we have our team participating in a 5-kilometer run/walk in aid for a charity. And we had a food collection for National Food Bank Day in September, where we essentially set up a box in the credit union that allowed members and the board and staff to donate non-perishable food items. So that's a few of the other areas that we focus on. And then we have the picture there to the right, which is the community defibrillator. So this was installed a good few years ago now, and anyone who has the relevant training in the area, they would have access to it in case of an emergency. So it's just located outside the office and can be accessed 24/7. And then we have the community awards. So we found actually that a lot of times it's difficult to reach the community as a whole, and especially get non-members engaged with the credit union. So we actually borrowed this idea from another credit union in Dublin and established the Dublin 8 Community Awards, where we encourage people in the community and not just members, anyone in the community, to nominate an unsung hero or a person that goes above and beyond for the community, or the neighbors, or simply makes a significant impact on the local area. And it's funny, originally we were actually just planning on having 12 awards, but we got so many great entries that we actually decided to double that the number of awards to 24. And the winners, was a variety of winners, different ages. So we had, for example, a boy from the local scouts who always volunteers to help out. We had a resident who looked after the elderly neighbors during the pandemic, a group working to preserve the local history of the area. And then we also have a member who organizes different types of events for senior citizens, so trips and weekends away. So it was a big investment in terms of time commitment and to get it all set up and required a lot of organizing. But in the end, it really paid off, and it allowed us to grow membership. But more importantly, we got to give back to the community and really get an even better presence within the community. So it's actually such a success that we will be doing it again this year in September. The original one was held in May of 2023. All right, so the next step is the Senior Citizens Christmas Dinner. And this is definitely my favorite event of the year. So every year, myself and my colleague, Suzanne, who also works with the marketing, we start quite early to work on organizing the annual Senior Citizens Christmas dinner, where usually about 70 to 80 members over the age of 65 are invited for a free turkey and ham dinner. And then we have drinks and live music. So you have the likes of Frank Sinatra or Perry Como or Bing Crosby playing. And it's a great event. But the way we also see it is these are the people that we really need to thank for supporting the credit union over all these years and are the reason we exist today. And a lot of the elderly as well, a lot of older members, Christmas tends to be quite a lonely time. So it's a great way to bring everyone together. And the venues we use are often offered by, so it could be the local community hall or a local church who allows us to use it for free of charge. And we also then have raffle prizes donated by local businesses. So you're talking both large businesses and small businesses. So truly, it really brings the community together and gets everyone to collaborate on it. And another point as well in terms of this. So not only is it a way for us to give back to the longtime members, but we also see it as a way for these members to encourage their kids or grandkids to join the credit union. We often focus so much on just reaching younger audiences directly, but also a lot of times when younger people seek advice, they might turn to their parents or grandparents. So this can really work in our favor as well. And then we have events and visitors. So we try to have different types of events in the credit union. So for example, there, the picture with outside the brick building, outside the credit union, we had the Taoiseach of Ireland, Leo Varadkar. So our Prime Minister came over last year for a visit. And then we had on the other picture there, we have the Minister of Credit Unions was in. And we also invite colleagues from the UK, and we've had a few delegations from Africa, so Rwanda and Ethiopia, to visit Donore, Ireland's first credit union, to see what we're all about. And we always make an effort to try to attend any community events that are going on. And it takes a lot of time, but it's just showing that the credit union is there. So, for example, there we had a reveal of a new street in the area. So whenever something's going on, they make sure to notify the credit union. And then we tend to have different displays. So for example, we had the annual art competition, and we'd have all the kids who enter the art competition, their artwork on display in the waiting area for about 2 weeks. And we're big into the decorations. So like you might see there, we have Halloween decorations. And again, it is Christmas, Halloween, St. Patrick's Day. We always just try to do all this for the community, and especially kids love it. So it's just adding a little bit of extra. And then beyond loans and savings. So in Ireland, a lot of times the stereotypical view of the credit union is that it's associated with a place that your grandma opened up a savings account, or you opened it for your first Holy Communion to stash the money. And although we're traditionally, back in the day, was mostly about loans and savings, over the last decade or so, there's more and more services. So mortgages and current accounts in the industry. And here are also some of the services that we provide to build member loyalty. And face-to-face service is really an important aspect. We continue to emphasize on that, although we have the online banking and the mobile app. But we still have about 70% of all loan applications being made inside the credit union, so in the office, while some credit unions in Ireland have where it's completely the other way around. But we even find a lot of younger people still coming in to have a chat about their finances in the credit union. And then we chose to have different opening hours. So we're open on Saturdays and late evenings. And this is because a lot of people tend to work 9 to 5 and might find it very difficult to go into the credit union. So instead, we're actually closed on Wednesdays, but we're open until 6 p.m. on Friday evenings and open between 9:15 and 12:30 on Saturdays. So it's just to give people a little bit more freedom and a chance to come in when it suits them. So as mentioned before, we have the scholarships. We have the collaboration with the college, but we also have a separate scholarship for any type of course. So whether someone's doing a apprenticeship course or a master's degree, or just simply a small diploma, they can apply for it. So this is just to include everyone in the community and the full membership. And then, of course, the competitions and raffles. We're big to our competitions, and we like to share this as well a lot on social media, the winners. And whether it's Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter, we always have something on. And it's all free for members to enter. Sometimes it's simply raffles where they put the name in, and sometimes we have where, for example, we had a big dartboard, or where they have to throw balls through hoops and things like that. So it's just to keep members sort of a little bit of entertainment in the office. And then we have budget accounts. So this is a bill paying service. And we have a free financial advice service. This was introduced in November last year, and it gives members the opportunity to book a consultation where they can have a chat about retirement, investments, insurances, and things like that. And we have a free will making service as well, and some free insurance benefits like loan protection insurance or death benefit insurance. And these are usually the things that a lot of people forget about the credit unions, but it really adds a lot to it, and it's a great benefit. So lastly then, I just want to show this 30-second ad that we created last year in June, and we ran it on local TVs, in the cinema, and also on YouTube ads within our common bond. And it only features members of the Donore Credit Union and shops from the area. And we're promoting loans. We always say that we're quite proud of it. We're promoting loans without ever mentioning the word loan or borrowing in the video. So see, here we go.
I was able to get my first set of wheels.
I finally got a new kitchen.
Can do more traveling.
I was able to get a college degree.
Our community can do more with Donore.
Donore Credit Union, at the heart of Dublin 8 since 1958.
Right, so this 30-second clip shows really what we're all about, and it's community, community, and community. It's always the focus, and that's probably a key reason why we as a small credit union have been able to grow and become essentially known all over Ireland with our slogan, "Do More with Donore," which was something that our CEO, Dave McCauley, came up with for a few years ago. So I hope, these areas gave some of the credit union colleagues ideas or inspiration to help grow the impact that you have on the community, and indirectly helping them to grow the membership and the loan book value. So I would like to thank you all for taking the time to listen, and I truly appreciate having had this opportunity. And a big thank you also to the World Council of Credit Unions, and especially Katie for all the support with setting this up. So feel free to follow the Donore Credit Union on our social media channels, and also if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn to ask any questions. So I am open to any questions, and will try to answer them to my best ability. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. It's just an awesome presentation, really inspiring. And if people do have questions, type them in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and I can ask Nick there. I'm curious, Nick, I think a lot of people on this webinar obviously work for small credit unions, and the first question might be, how do you do it? And we actually have one right now from Stephanus, who asks, where do you get the budget to run all those programs?
Yeah, so I suppose it is a tricky one, and sometimes it is on a fairly tight budget, but a lot of it would be the community fund. Obviously, that's a big expense, but a lot of it would be where myself and my colleague Suzanne would go out in the community. So we do it during work hours, and the budget, we have a marketing budget set there, and it is quite a big marketing budget for a small credit union. But again, that's how we've been able to grow as well, by focusing on growing the marketing.
So it's something where you've decided we're going to outlay this money and we know there's going to be a return on it. And you've seen that I think a lot of credit unions look at that as a scary proposition, because what if we outlay the money and we don't see the return?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's, in a way, a lot of the events that, especially when we started them, it's a good bit of risk involved, because you might spend a good bit setting it up and then you're not sure exactly what the outcome is going to be. But that's what, as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation there as well, our CEO and the board is very proactive in trying these new ideas, and not all of them are as successful as some, but like the community awards, for example, it was such a great event that we are doing it this year because we saw growth from it.
Yeah, I guess that's the key. I mean, that's the whole motivation behind this. I know, not just to help the community, obviously that's part of it, but also to grow membership. And you're reaching your members. How do you reach those new members with these types of events? Because I can see how the members would know about them, but not necessarily people in the community who aren't members yet.
Yeah, so this is where it's crucial for us when we work with the different community groups. So the community groups, it's quite a tight-knitted community in the sense of they have different residence groups and then share it on their Facebook pages and newsletters. And then the college is a big help as well, so we can share a lot through that. Whenever we have something on, it's not just enough for us to share it on our social media or websites. So it's just about having the different connections, and they then share it on. And especially like the likes of when we have the multicultural event and the schools, we get to interact a lot. So for example, the parents would be there, and it opens up. So we try to, wherever we have a chance, to go to all the community events, because people see the credit unions there. We have the shirts with the logo on them, and they come up and have a chat with us. So it is a lot of time commitment involved in it. And just in terms of, it's about finding the right event as well that we can attend at times.
Another question, and I think you've sort of answered this already, but how do you measure the return on your community investment?
Yeah, so, well, in a way, I suppose we look at the membership growth and the loan book growth, but it's not, you can't say 100% correlation compared to, let's say, pure advertising, where you do the likes of, if you do Google ads or paid advertising, where you see how many people go on to page, or for example, we do mail drops in the area, certain streets, so we can see if people join based on that mail drop. But it is quite difficult to measure. But again, it's not only about the profit side of things. It's also about building the community and just being the cornerstone of the community. So we don't only look at the figures in terms of that, but obviously it's still important. It's no doubt about it.
Sheena asks, how many members are on your team? Because this sounds like a lot of heavy lifting. Is there a subcommittee, membership and marketing, for instance, that assists the office staff? And how do you get support for these wonderful initiatives?
Yeah, so we only have about 10 full-time staff members and 4 or so part-time. And then we have, for example, the youth committee doing a little bit of work. We have a marketing committee set up. But a lot of times, yeah, it would be where the marketing role, so myself and my colleague Suzanne would be out doing most of the community events, but the staff would also be involved, especially if it's bigger events, and we have the board. So it's, for a small team, we somehow manage it.
You maximize what you have, right?
Yeah, that's it.
What about the volunteers? Michelle asks, what are the volunteers responsible in creating and executing for the marketing events? And is there a budget for the volunteers?
So we actually give a lot of volunteers a good bit of freedom. So in terms of, for example, the youth committee to work on projects that they might seem suitable. And there is a project set aside for that as well. And for example, attending events, the budget is not it's not a target, but it's just set there. So we try to always cut costs wherever it makes sense. but a lot of volunteers, we have volunteers as well who do it completely sort of when it suits them, but they come to the committee meetings and they do it remotely as well. So but it is teamwork. It really is working together.
Another attendee says, we have a youth club aimed at building engagement and attracting more members aged 16 to 25. Right now, we run sessions on financial literacy, career development, and a few social activities. We're really hoping to see more growth and deeper engagement. Do you have any tips or ideas to help us take things to the next level?
So if I understand the question as in growing the engagement with the younger audiences, or yeah, well, we found there definitely the local schools and the college, we keep on pushing that message, but it's just being there and educating people in the area, so younger people, about the credit union and the fact that we do have a mobile app and online banking. So we find a lot of younger people don't know much about the credit union, and it's getting into the schools. And this is a huge time commitment that we actually do struggle with, because finding the time to do a presentation in a school, but definitely that part. And then we'd say social media. So we have the younger people creating content for younger people, especially on the likes of TikTok or Instagram. And it is a challenge, but we're working on it, and it's a work in progress. But
another question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's like most credit unions probably worldwide have a struggle to reach younger people, and it seems to be something that usually comes up in conversation with credit unions, even in Ireland, that we talk to a lot. So
it's the biggest struggle worldwide, I can tell you, when we meet with
Yeah.
people. Youth membership is and bringing down the average age of members is a huge issue. On that note, a lot of questions about youth. Do you have special loan products for youth at Donore?
So we do have an education loan that would be a lower rate, but there wouldn't be specific loans except for that. So that's for third level education. So if someone goes to college, they get a lower rate. And then we have a first time borrow loan as well. So no one or someone that hasn't borrowed with the credit union before, they can avail of a lower sort of introductory rate. Yeah, and we do have the scholarships, which is a big part as well. And surprisingly, we always say we try to encourage both students from the local college, but also for the other scholarship students to study any type of program. And we're always surprised that we don't get more people applying for the scholarships. It's an interesting one.
How do you sponsor them? Are they in the annual budget?
Yeah, so they would be in the annual budget. Yeah, so we do have one scholarship which is 1,500, and the other one is then 3,000, but then that's split. So half of it's paid by the local college and half by us. So it's a small enough amount, but still makes a big difference.
Question from Juan. He asks, what benefits do young people who participate in the program receive? How is it organized, and who runs the youth committee for you?
Yeah, so we're running it. So I'm sort of involved in running it, but it's also in a democratic way where we brainstorm a lot of ideas, and we then start assigning the different ideas to the people that want to work on them, and have a deadline then when we're going to present them. So we're working on them, presenting it to the board eventually to show them, look, this is what the youth committee is working on. And a lot of people take their own responsibility for certain areas, but we're still working on it as a team. But it's a difficult one, because we have, for example, employees, so younger employees who work full time as well by the counter, but then trying to find the time to do this. So we have to allocate and schedule the time for it as well.
What about the board? Habiba asks, it's impressive what you're doing with such a robust youth scheme. Does your credit union also include them on the board? Do you have any youth committee members or youth sit on your board?
We do have a few younger people on the board, and we're trying to encourage to get younger people involved. Not necessarily from the youth committee, but we would have, for example, as mentioned there, the youth committee presenting to the board, and it's also trying to have a bit of diversity in the board. So that's why we're trying to encourage younger people to join it. But it's again, it is a challenge. But working with the local college, we tend to put out adverts for that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that, you know, getting new members who are younger is one thing. Getting them to sit on a board is an entirely different process to make them see the value of that, to put their time into that, I'm sure. So I got to believe that's just another level of effort that it takes to really educate somebody on why that's important. And they have to have a passion for it, I would think, too.
Yeah, and just in terms of the younger members as well, what we find is the sustainability aspect has been quite attractive for the younger people in the area. So setting up the Donore area sustainable community, it's because sustainability is something that a lot of younger people are passionate about. So it has actually brought more people into both the youth committee and the credit union itself. Just again, it's a different aspect, but it shows that we're not just about the lending and sort of financial side.
You've asked this, or you sort of went into this a little bit before. You mentioned Google Analytics, the mail drops. Paulo wants to know, do you have metrics to measure the impact of your wonderful activities? Are there other things that you use to measure it besides those two things?
So we would measure, of course, if we do a big campaign. So for example, the mail drop, we would measure in terms of that mail drop. If we target a specific area, we'd look at the addresses, look if members join from those addresses, if there's loans from it, and especially if we're out at events. So let's say, for example, local college, we'd measure where, because they can become members if they study in the area. So we know they're a member or a student at the college, we'd be able to track that. But in terms of paid advertising, it is a tricky one to put it on paper and put the exact correlation between did this person click on it and did they therefore join and become a member or join.
Is that ever challenging for your executives? Because I think a lot of credit unions do struggle with, well, if I can't show my executive team this is what we spent and this is the return, it's going to be hard to get that money approved.
Yeah, it can be tricky at times. So our budget is made in a way where it's split up in different categories. So we know each year. So for example, the community part, a certain percentage allocated for that, certain percentage for the paid advertising. And we do update it on a monthly basis with the marketing report we have, just to keep a track on where we're spending. And yeah, then the results, as long as the loan book and the membership is growing, there's some correlation there as well. But it is a tricky one to measure in terms of direct impact.
We don't have any more questions, but I have to tell you, Nick, if you look in the chat, you've gotten so many kudos from all over the world here, from people who are saying that they're going to take a lot of what you've talked about back to their credit union and talk to their executives, their boards about it. So I think you've made a real impact here.
Happy to hear that. Yeah, no, and this is what it's all about, us sharing ideas and as credit union colleagues from across the world. And if you're ever in Ireland or in Dublin, any of the credit unions on this call, feel free to let us know, and we'll be more than happy to invite you to visit Ireland's first and oldest credit union.
And Nick, I think you're going to be at the World Credit Union Conference this year. Is that right, in Stockholm?
Our CEO will be there.
Okay,
I might potentially go, yeah. So, but yeah, our CEO, the one of the main reasons we have grown is the fact that he focuses on long-term growth instead of opposed of just month-to-month growth, and it's just being very proactive and open to new ideas. So, and same with the board, and that's the main reason where we are today, because there's obviously some risks involved. We have taken like different projects we've done where you don't know if it's going to be a return on investment, but it's more so the long-term goal. And it's like we say in Ireland, the proof is in the pudding. Like you can see over the last 7 years, long-term, it has grown year on year. So something's working anyway in the strategy.
Yeah, and you mentioned your CEO. I host the Global Credit Union podcast every month, and we actually had your CEO on about a year ago, in April of 2024, to talk a little bit about the climate resilience initiatives that your organization puts on. And I tell you, it was inspiring to hear from him, and it's great to hear that he'll be. And I'm forgetting his name right now, so please let us know, because if anybody wants to talk to him about that aspect and some other things at the conference, if they're going, I'm sure that he would love to talk to
David
them about it.
McCauley, yeah.
David McCauley, thank you so much. I was just
And-
trying to rack my brain to find that.
And I'll probably meet a good few people. I will likely go to the conference because I have family in Sweden, as I mentioned, nearby. So it's, and I usually tend to be in Sweden around that time. So it's very suitable. So it'll be nice to meet other credit union colleagues. Great.
And does, I assume, David, for sure, do your board directors get a lot involved in a lot of these activities as well? Esme wants to know that one.
Yeah, we would have where board would go to different events as well. So David will definitely be there, and potentially someone from the board as well. But we do have, for example, we'd have customer experience awards or credit union awards. So whenever there's something like that on, we invite both board members or staff if they want to come along. So we try to involve them in a lot of things.
Got it. Well, unfortunately, we're coming up on the top of the hour here. We do have a few questions still in the chat. I don't know if we can send those to you, Nick. Maybe you can answer those via email. For these folks. We appreciate that. And thank you again. Really insightful. I think of all the presentations that we've had, this is probably one of the top 5 or 6 in terms of people being able to take the information back to their credit unions and look to implement some of these solutions or some of these ideas.
Thank you. I'm delighted to hear that. That's great. Thanks.
Great. Well, if you like this webinar and you want to watch it again, or you would like others to see it, you can refer them to the World Council YouTube channel. That's at youtube.com/WOCU, WOCCU. This will be available later today on that channel. And there are a couple of other upcoming events I want to let you know about. First, we're hosting the second WOCU workshop of 2025 tomorrow, May 1st, on banking in the age of generative AI. Now, there is a $250 fee to participate in this workshop, but it will provide you with a deep dive on critical issues like the evolution of AI and how it's reshaping financial services worldwide, practical applications like predictive analytics, fraud prevention, and personalized member experiences, challenges like data privacy, ethical considerations, and skill shortages, and strategies for fostering a pro-AI culture and building a roadmap for implementation. You can learn more about the Banking in the Age of Generative AI workshop by scanning the QR code on your screen right now, or by going to wocu.org/workshops. That is wocu.org/workshops. And finally, if you want to participate in other great educational sessions in person this time, you just heard Nick and I talk about it. Registration is still open for the 2025 World Credit Union Conference. World Council will be hosting the 20th anniversary of the premier global credit union event in beautiful Stockholm, Sweden, from July 14th to the 16th under the theme, The Future is Cooperative. Simply scan the QR code on your screen right now to register. If you don't have your phone handy, head to wcuc.org. That's wcuc.org to learn more and to register for what promises to be a historic event in this milestone celebration. We'd love to see you all there this summer. That's it for today's webinar. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us.